Welcome to another stage analysis video. It's Wednesday the 27th of December 2023. If you celebrate it, I hope you had a good Christmas and Boxing Day. I've had a good few days of eating and drinking, spent some time with friends and family, but gonna get back to work now. What I wanted to do with today's video is something a little bit different. Actually do a little bit of a review of some of the better stocks of 2023 in terms of the ones that have had some of the best stage 2 moves. So not necessarily on a percentage basis. Some have had extreme percentage moves and many I've excluded for various different reasons, but just wanted to show 10 or 15 stocks that have had good stage 2 runs over the course of the last year, to give a sort of educational video as well as what to look out for when you're looking for stocks moving into stage 2 and continuation breakouts, etc. So starting off with AAOI, which is Applied Optoelectronics, which did have a stage 2 breakout in the middle of the year, back around this area in here in just early part of June, just as it was moving in. I think it actually was on the exactly as we moved into June. So if we come back into here, you can see started to just break out above its 200-day moving average in the early part of June here. So back on the weekly chart, you can see it had an exceptionally strong initial run from that area. So we had a classic Wyckoffean base structure that had developed. We had a selling climax, an automatic rally, secondary tests, a failed breakout attempt as an up thrust, which came back into the range again, a further up thrust at the top of the range, and then formed some higher lows within this broader base structure. So we did have a little bit of a spring type action, local spring within the range, before starting to move up, starting to push above some local pivot highs, and then breaking out into stage 2 here. So you can see from the top of the structure, the initial move had a run of over 400%, and at this point it's around 600%, but year to date this one has had an exceptionally strong move. So if we go back to the 3rd of January here, I think it was over 1,000%, so 1,100 plus on this one. So one of the strongest stocks of the year in many different markets. It's all over. Volume, as you can see, the exceptional increase in volume as it moved up higher in stage 2 and just started to push out. Didn't land on my scans until I think it was around July, August sort of time, as I don't scan for anything below $5. So did miss the initial stage 2 breakout in the watch list for this one. Started to show up in the pullback area through here in July. So, but as you can see, it's been an exceptional one. If you look on the daily chart here, the continuation breakout now moving back out from it started to develop some stage 3 characteristics and started to push back up and out, back through the 180R level on the daily here, through a local pivot. So making a stage 2 continuation attempt and pushing out to new highs. Right, let's move on to what's the second stock I wanted to talk about has been Carvana, which is CVNA. So its initial stage 2 breakout attempt was cut short. So if we knock into this one, you can see year to date, this is another one that's had over 1,000% move year to date. Let's go back to the 3rd of January area here. You see it's up over 1,100% at this point, but didn't start to move into stage 2 till this week here in early June. I think it was around this point just before the pivot high on the daily chart, but the weekly didn't manage to push through to the following week. So we take it from the exact top of that, so it's only up 100-200% from the actual stage 2 breakout level, but more than 11 times from the year to date low. So an exceptionally strong move. Now potential could be an inverse head and shoulders developing, possibility for a cup and handle type pattern. So looking for a further stage 2 continuation with this one, and at the moment it is currently technically making a stage 2 continuation attempt through here, although hasn't yet completely cleared above the old resistance of the highs. So could still roll over here, turn back towards stage 3 again, but at the moment attempting a stage 2 continuation. So looking for a further move up, pushing towards that $100 level. Third up is Mara. So there's a bunch of crypto stocks I could have picked. I've tried to pick, for the most part, one per group. So of the crypto stocks, Mara has had one of the better moves. There's been a number of them that have had really good moves. Clean Spark. I think Hut is only just starting to move out now. Riot's had a really good move. MSTR's had a really good move. Coins had a really good move. The whole group has been really strong, but as they've got very similar patterns, I thought it was easier just to show one of them. And at the moment, Mara's had the biggest percentage move year to date, again coming off of the down at the lows back here at the start of the year. If we look down to, we got the 3rd of January week, it's up over 700% year to date, so an exceptionally strong move. But it's actually had 2 stage 2 attempts this year. So you can see the initial stage 2 breakout attempt through this area here was a bit of a tentative one, still into an old resistance area through here. Started to pull back in immediately and chop around the base structure. Never broke the pivot low, so carried on from here into new stage 2, but then rolled over, started to come back in, made a lower high, so started to develop stage 3 type characteristics and even potential stage 4 down in this area before pulling back up again, starting to make a new pivot breakout and then turn back towards a new stage 2 attempt. So currently on its 2nd stage 2 attempt at the moment, and so here we go, roughly up, doubled, 150 so% at the moment. If we go into the daily chart, you can see this move back above the pivot high, above the 200-day moving average. So around this kind of area here is where it started to move back out into stage 2 again. You can see it's been above that 1 ATR level the whole way there, with only one single pullback into it. Exceptionally extended in the near term here, parabolic at the moment, above the +3 ATR level, with the lows of multiple candles now above that line. So in the near term, exceptionally extended, having a really strong run. Obviously volume's been exceptionally high this week, volume lower with the holiday week, but pushing to new highs, as are all of the crypto group. This is another one where you can see a broader structure across here that developed. You've got the selling climax, automatic rally, secondary test. You've got a shakeout or a terminal shakeout within a phase B of the structure here, with then a test, and then we finally have the last point of support here after a local sign of a minor sign of strength through here. So, and then pushing out into stage 2. So stage 2 can occur within a broader structure. This is something a lot of people miss when they draw structures. If you just draw a simple rectangular structure across, it doesn't necessarily need to be the higher the structure in order to break out into stage 2. It's more of a relative level compared to the 200-day moving average, and you look for other pivot levels as well. So in this one's case, we can see here, if we go back on the daily chart here, we're above that 200-day moving average. We can't see that. Let's get me a longer range. Let's get a little bit of a longer range year to date here. Then you'll be able to see that a little bit easier. So we've got a pivot breaking out. So this is your initial stage 2 breakout attempt here, and then didn't break back below the 30-week moving average, and then we've got our secondary area through this area. So it doesn't necessarily have to be above the top of the entire structure. As I was saying, you can see when you get big up thrust moves like this, the base structure might start developing as such, but then lower levels can develop, and this is where the stage 2 can be, because it's a relative level to this 200-day moving average and the 30-week moving average as well. So keep an eye out for that when you're trying to look for potential stage 2 levels. Local near-term resistance is a major consideration, and as in this case, it did affect this dramatically. But this was, with the percentage moves in this kind of stock, this still had within that range 100% potential to the top of the range before it started to roll back over again. So it depends on the stock about whether you take the ones with more local resistance or not. So AFRM next up on the list. This one, again, there was an earlier attempt back in here, which technically some people might say is the stage 2 area, but didn't make much progress above the 200-day moving average there. So if we look at it on the daily, you can see we had a move above the 200-day moving average and quickly rolled and went sideways for a while. So this area through here back in August time is more likely to be the stage 2 breakout level. So again, if I quickly make this a little bit longer on here, you can see that a bit more clearly. So we did have a pivot high through this area, then this more local pivot. So this potentially is your stage 2 move. We did have a sign of strength bar on earnings at this point here, which then changed a behavior before breaking out. Did roll back over again, but never come back below this 200-day moving average, and has had an exceptionally strong move since. So again, back on the weekly here, you can see the stage 2 breakout, the pullback in the backup zone here, did come back underneath the breakout level, but touched the 30-week moving average. Original investor stop losses never got anywhere near that, and has continued to push out into stage 2. So a little bit extended in the near term at the moment, just touching between the 2 and the 3 ATR level, but running strongly and not outside of its normal range, but in a strong uptrend. So looking for this one to consolidate and develop a bit to form the next potential entry point on here. But you can see the volume has significantly increased recently with this run up here. So some good price and volume action going into this still as it moves higher in stage 2. And you can see obviously year to date we've gone from 10 to 50 as such through there, so a very, very strong move as well. Home builders is another area that I could pick multiple stocks from. They've all got very similar price and volume behavior. DFH is just one of the strongest from the group. They've all had really good runs. They're not necessarily the biggest percentage movers, but in terms of a stage 2 run and the group run, they've been consistent with all of the group moving in harmony, really. There was at least 80 to 90% of the group moving strongly in stage 2 with just a few outliers. So again, if we go back to the earlier part of the year here, you can see the stage 2 breakout. If we go to the start of the year, at the moment this one only up, I say only, still up 300%. It did move into stage 3 briefly with even a failed shakeout into stage 4, which reverted, then made a new continuation move. So managed to push back into stage 2 again after this strong pullback. So we saw this across the home builders group. They all had a very strong move lower after topping out in, I think it was earnings results in the July-August period for the group. We still started to see a strong pullback across the board there. But you can see the initial stage 2 breakout. Again, if we draw, you can see with this one, they all had similar kind of structures in the group. So you can see a selling climax, automatic rallies, secondary, this is probably a secondary test area. And then, so if we draw our initial structure across here, you can see, again, classic Wyckoffean theme through here. We've got and yet another shakeout and a test, and then a higher low test, sign of strength bar as it attempts to break out into early stage 2. So these lower levels down here, this is technically where the stage 2 breakout attempt was happening. Again, if we drop down to the daily time, if we're looking on that on the weekly, you can see that was on the start of the 30th of January week, so into the early part of February there. So if we take this once more back a tiny bit more to the year, well, I'll do year to date, and we can see that. So you can see the year to date move started to move above the 200-day moving average here, and then quickly pull back in again. So technically we're looking at this April period here as where it started to really trend higher and break out of the base structure. But if we get the dates back up here and go a little bit further back, and you look at where it started to turn over, we can look at that base structure a little bit more clearly. So you've got your selling climax, you've got your automatic rally. So we draw our structure across, so as you can see, but we've got these local pivot highs through this area here. So you've got 3 pivot highs through here. So technically this area becomes a little bit more significant, and then we started to move back above the 200-day moving average. So this is where it looked like on a weekly it's moving out into stage 2. If we look at it from a structural perspective, whether that's the stage 2 or whether it's once it starts to move out through this area of stage 2 is much to muchness really. So they're in a very similar position here. But much clearer at this point as it started to grind higher. Volume remained low, but the entire group was moving. So we go back to the weekly chart on this. As I said, we've got this strong pullback where it started to break down. We've got a change of behavior. So normal pullbacks through here, we can see we're quite shallow until this point where it started to show a change, made a lower high. So started through here, it started to break down. So started to turn towards stage 3 type behavior through here, back to the 30-week moving average, and then rolled and even pivoted below and potentially attempted the stage 4, as I said. So we saw similar throughout the group, and the vast majority then had strong surges once we started to move higher in the early part of November there, starting to gap up, pushing through, and then making stage 2 continuation breakouts to new highs. So one of the strongest groups of the year is the home builders, and DFH was the percentage leader for the group as such. Right. ANF, this was a more straightforward stage 2 move this year, so the early move to break out into stage 2. So this is something that is one of Stan's don't rules at this point here. So the stage 2 breakout point back in November, the 30-week moving average was still declining. So at this point here, when it attempts to move out into stage 2, it would be considered too early. You can see the relative strength versus the Mansfield zero line is still below the zero line at that point as well. So we've got a declining 30-week moving average, was still below the zero line. So this point here is still too early. But technically, it is still stage 2 breakout point. And then we move into the backup, and then it started to push out. And at the push out point, as it started to move higher at the start of 2023, you see the Mansfield relative strength line is above the zero line there. It's in a better position. It starts to move out with the now rising 30-week moving average. The pullback at this point here did undercut back below the breakout level. So shakeout type at this point around the 30-week moving average, but never would have broken through any investor stop loss method at that point, but traders would have got out as it started to pull back in underneath that 10-week moving average, etc. through there. So a secondary move back through here, it's started breaking above the pivot and hasn't looked back since. It's been an exceptionally strong stage 2 move. So we take it from the actual stage 2 point here up over 300%, and similar from the year to date point with this one. So next up, IONQ. So this is one of the stocks that started to move in the middle part of the year here through April. Had a really good initial stage 2 move and is currently in stage 3. Could potentially start to move back to stage 2 again. We can get a continuation break back through this area here. But at the moment you can see we've had this double top pattern through here, started to move lower. So change of behavior. So you can see our moves, and then this point through here started to get more extreme. This is our change of character, change of behavior. So initial change of behavior and then a change of character. Moved into stage 3, attempted to grind its way back up. The 10-week moving average has started to turn back up again. It's hovering around its 30-week moving average. If we look at it on a daily chart at the moment, you can see attempted to break above the pivot high above the 50-day moving average, but it's come back below that again, and its 21-day moving average. So in limbo a little bit at the moment, going sideways, but potential start to get back above the 180R level again to push out into make a new stage 2 continuation once more. So it was an exceptionally good initial stage 2 advance. As you can see, this was one of the SPACs from back here. Anything that in 2021 was hovered around, you get these kind of didn't do anything around the $10 level, then that's, you can identify these as they were a SPAC, the blank check companies, which the vast majority have done obviously incredibly badly, but there are some that have managed to turn it around, like IONQ. So since the start of the year, this has, where are we? up to its high was up over 500% and is back down to closer to 300% at the moment from that level. The stage 2 breakout level back here did have an initial 250% run before moving into stage 3. So really good stage 2 advance in around 5 months or so here through this area. So your stage 2 until it started to turn towards stage 3 type behavior. So as I said, in order to move back to stage 2 again, we'd want to see it start to break back out above this 16-17 area here again once more. So currently in the under the turbulent zone from the initial advance phase here. We got IONQ. App Loving has also had a really good stage 2 advance this year, has been going sideways, potentially could be developing stage 3, but at the moment we'd give it a stage 2 still. Hasn't yet pulled into its 30-week moving average here, so back above its 10-week moving average for the last 3 weeks here. So the original stage 2 breakout point here, back through strong volume week, rising 30-week moving average above the Mansfield 0 line, or just tipping it that week. It was literally crossing it on the week, so right in there. It had an exceptionally long and strong stage 4 decline low, so a lot of resistance was the potential issue with this one, but the sheer strength just managed to push through with only very minor pullbacks the entire way. There's been very little in the way of signs of strong distribution coming in. There's been some very tight action in this one as it's moved higher. So still in a good position below the IPO level though. So still, I think that was the IPO week back there around that $60 level, but plenty of room to move if it can get back out, make a continuation breakout here and push up towards those 2021 highs. At the moment, this one year to date, so from the open around this area here, had a 300 or so % move. So again, another really good stage 2 advance from the stage 2 breakout point, around 150% or so. So again, a really good move up and tight action at the moment. NVDA, so this was one of the early leaders of the year, so mega cap leader for most of the year. We had the mega cap 7 stocks that were leading the way while lots of other stocks were struggling. This has helped push the Nasdaq, the S&P 500 up through the year. All the large caps, your Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA, Amazon, etc. So broke out with the rest of the group in the latter part of January here. We did see some of them break out a little bit earlier in the group. Inverse head and shoulders, as you can see on the pattern for NVIDIA here, had a 167% move from the stage 2 breakout to the high from the start of the year. Actually moved a little bit more than that, so 240% or so. So really strong move for such a large cap stock. Even this week when volume is quiet, it's had 47 million go through. We're close to $500, so exceptional volume in NVIDIA. See really strong growth and EPS estimates for the many years to come at the moment as it pushes higher based on the AI theme this year. So leading the semiconductors in terms of size and strength, but not so much in terms of percentage moves. There's been many in the group that have done significantly better percentage wise, but for a liquid leader, NVIDIA has potentially been it through 2023, and you can see the sideways move here that's gone through over the last 4 or 5 months or so, where it's moved towards stage 3. So technically in stage 3 at this point, attempting to make a continuation attempt, so we can start to push up through that $500 level. We could push potentially into stage 2 further, but at the moment still going sideways as such within this range. Hasn't managed to clear resistance from the high, so could still return to stage 3 again, but it's a borderline case at the moment. Duolingo, Another one of interest this week was an IPO back in 2021. Had a decent initial IPO advance, come out the IPO base, had a 100% move or so for rolling over, then turning quickly to stage 4 type behaviour, breaking through the lows. So develops the IPO advance, develops your turbulent zone. It's a rough area across here, which then once it starts to get back up to in this point, can give it some choppy type behaviour. So just starting to clear that recently, pushing out into the I can't remember what they call it now. So not the IPO advance phase, the institutional advance phase. That's the one that they call it, from the life cycle trade. So there's a really good book called the life cycle trade, where they, similar to stage analysis, they've given the cycles of the IPO stocks names. They tally up very well with stage analysis, and I find it's useful to use them with the IPO stocks initially, your IPO base, your IPO advance, the institutional due diligence phase, etc., which tends to be the initial stage 1 base. So in this one's case, had an initial preliminary support, selling climax, automatic rally, secondary test area. So got an initial structure through this one, up thrust behaviour, got spring through here, we've got last point of support, sign of strength bar, jump across the creek, whatever you want to call it. So again, classic Wyckofffian structure here, starting to break out in the relative strength at a similar point as well. We're above the zero line at the early part of the year as it starts to move up and out in January, and then once it got to February, started to break to new highs along with the price action. So really good structural institutional due diligence phase, which developed as stage 1 into stage 2. Then went out sideways for a little while through June to November time here. You can see developed a base structure here, which turned into stage 3, but has since made a strong stage 2 continuation and pushing off to new highs. You can see obviously moving from start of the year down in the mid 60s all the way up to 240 now. So let's look at that percentage wise. It's had a 230+% move year to date, and since the stage 2 breakout area, it's up around 124-25% or so. So really good performer, and another one from the software group. There's been a number of good ones in the software group this year. CAMT also exceptionally strong stage 2 advance. You can see moving initial early stage 2 attempt and the January period here rolling over before moving out on a stronger basis in the early June period here. Did start to pull in a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders look to this area here, making a stage 2 continuation at the moment. So again, we go back to the daily on this. You can see the structure here. This was our change of behavior, but then tightened up again up in this area before pushing out again back above the 180R level on some stronger volume there. So at the moment, this one still looking in a good position, as it held up really well when the market was pulling back. Relative strength has outperformed all year, so another 150+% stage 2 advance on this one as well. So you can see the, again, characteristics to look out for. And it's another one that had a broader base structure. So if you mark this as your change of behavior, your preliminary support, say selling climax type area, automatic rally. So if you started to draw a structure through here, you were looking at this, you got big shakeout type move through here, and started to break up through some pivots within the base. So technically, the stage 2 breakout occurring within this broader structure, the back up, and then pushing its way out into phase D, phase E of the structure there. So again, some characteristics to look out for as a stock basis. DKNG, you could also say, had a similar kind of thing. So had a selling climax down here, an automatic rally, but it had the initial structure, it did manage to push out significantly higher. So with these kind of ones, and like to tend to draw the structure from this area through here, so you can see as it encompasses more of the price action at that point. But again, this one has a stage 2 breakout from within a lower point within the structure. So technically around this area, there was still overhead resistance to deal with, but it's had a really good stage 2 advance. It's moved really well year to date. So at a 200+% move year to date, and since the stage 2 point, it's up around 100% at the moment. So pullback did technically move into stage 3, made a lower high through here, started to move back below the 10-week moving average, hit the 30-week moving average. So started to show signs of stage 3, but quickly reverted back to stage 2 again. It's now pushed back up to new highs, 52-week highs, and held so far on the pullback. If it does start to push back below here low, technically could move back towards stage 3 again, but at the moment with a stage 2 continuation. IoT, so this one is similar to the kind of look to DUOL lingo. Had a IPO back in late 2021, had an initial IPO advance for only 3 weeks before rolling over, breaking below the IPO low, then turning towards stage 4 type behavior, an initial decline. The big rally attempt off the lows. So again, you could draw a really broad structure on this one, but it was a big double bottom look to this. Again, started to make some pivot lows. So technically this area through here is where we start to move out into stage 2. You've got a rising 30-week. We're above the Mansfield 0 line at this point through here. So although it's still got near-term resistance to deal with, it's technically moving into stage 2. Formed a base structure. So started to push still higher highs, even though it pulled back in again, didn't come anywhere near the 30-week moving average, which was still rising strongly. So just a normal base within stage 2. But this one here, we started to make lower highs, started to break back below the 30-week, hit the 30-week even. So definitely starting to show stage 3 characteristics, but then started to make higher highs again, push its way back out. So making a stage 2 continuation breakout attempt from the broader structure at the moment, pushing up, but you can see there's still this overhead line, so this could be sort of a rising wedge type pattern still. It could still roll over, but an exceptionally strong move the other week and some tight action at the moment. So we'll see how this develops into the new year, but at the moment making a stage 2 continuation. If we look at on the year-to-date performance, got a strong almost 200% move year to date, and similar from the stage 2, only a little bit less from the stage 2 breakout level there. And then just one more to finish up here. So not so big on the percentage move basis, but this has been a consistent mover all year, which was booking holdings. So they've got booking.com, and similar to a few others in the travel group, Expedia has started to break out to stage 2 recently. We've seen Airbnb, TripAdvisor starting to move as well. I'm not sure if it's in the same group actually, but similar kind of industry there. But you can see this has had a really good stage 2 advance. Did turn to stage 3 briefly, so it started to break down, lower high, below the 10-week moving average, which started to roll over, come all the way back into the 30-week moving average, but quickly reverted, started to push back up and out again. So made a stage 2 continuation breakout attempt. So although it's only up less than 100% year to date from the stage 2 breakout area, so you can see here 63% or so. As I was saying at the start of the video, it's not necessarily about the percentage move so much about how good of a stage 2 advance it's had. And so this has been a very smooth stage 2 advance, and would have given you, if you were using investor method etc., would have been an easy hold as it moved higher with good clean pullbacks that have been easy to raise the stop loss along the way. So just wanted to show that one as well. So hopefully, as I said, just a short video today. I just wanted to cover some of this year's stronger movers in stage 2. There's been many you can go through. There's been hundreds and hundreds that have had really good stage 2 advances as the market has been really strong in certain areas. It's not been a broad-based rally until recently, not until November. The rally started in November. Did we start to see some broad-based participation? But the earlier in the year moves were more selective in much fewer groups. So hopefully this has helped you to see some of the characteristics that we look out for in the stage analysis method. And if you want to see any more of my work, what we do, the Stage Analysis Member Service is available on stageanalysis.net, which I do weekly videos as well as generally daily blog posts, except for this week where it's been under Christmas holidays. But on a normal week, we tend to do a daily post with the watch list every other day or so, and some different content, market breadth and videos, etc. So as I said, come along. If this is what your stage analysis is what you're using, then best resource on the internet for it, bar none. So hopefully you'll join us. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.